Well, hello, everybody. Good morning, and welcome to episode 22 of Coronavirus in the Independent Retailer Podcast. I'm your host, Bob Negen, and today we're going to be talking about the right sizing of retail and what it means to you. But before I get into that, I'd like to just say thank you to everyone who has subscribed to the podcast on the podcast. I hope it's not a plotting podcast, but on the various podcast platforms, I just checked our stats, and we have 2,000 downloads or listens, on Spotify, on iTunes. So if you listen to this on a podcast, I just want to say thank you. And if you'd like to listen to this as a podcast, on your favorite platform, please go to whizbangtraining.com/coronavirus, and you'll find a link to all of the major platforms, and you can sign up there. So, we're another day, one more day closer, baby. Assess, adjust, and advance. Assess, adjust, and advance. And it's getting long, but we're going to make it. So, but let's talk about, sort of a bigger picture thing about what's happening. The right sizing of retail. Nature, systems, organizations all have a tendency to correct. So Karl Marx talked about it in the Marxist dialectic, this idea that history swings from one extreme to the other, but it continues to get better. A couple years ago, we had Barry Johnson, who's super smart guy, come into our Platinum Mastermind group and talk about this idea of polarities. It's the same thing. It all tends to go back and forth and back and forth. And this coronavirus is doing the same thing, isn't it? In nature, the coronavirus is causing us to pause. Susan and I were talking about the fact that you can see the Himalayas from New Delhi right now for the first time in, was it decades, Susan?
30 years.
30 years. So, nature is forcing us to pause, and it has all of these unintended benefits. The economy is, although it's taking a hit, there's going to be unintended benefits that we don't even see right now. And the same thing holds true with retail. Let's face it, the stock market was roaring, people were opening stores, good things were happening, and there was just too much. There was too much money in the economy. There were too many square feet. You want to talk about a country that's overstored. Look at the United States of America. There was way too much available space. There were too many brands. There was too much inventory. I listened to a webinar that Management One put on, and somebody was talking about this idea that there's just too much inventory. There's too much inventory in the pipeline. There was too much inventory being created, all over the world. And, he just basically said something's got to give. And something does have to give. If you look at this whole idea of inventory, the speaker was in the fashion industry, and he said, look, think about it. Every year, the department stores start marking down sooner and sooner and sooner. Why do they keep doing that? Because they have too much stuff, and it hurts margins. It hurts margins for everyone. And that's what's happening right now. Things are changing. This is a natural self-correction. And when things change and when there is a self-correction, it's often painful. It's painful right now for lots of you. It's painful for all of us here at Whizbang Retail Training. But the pain represents an opportunity. Charles Darwin, actually this wasn't really Charles Darwin quote, but it was attributed to Charles Darwin. And the quote is, "It's not the strongest of the species that survive, nor the most intelligent, but the most responsive to change. So right now there are too many stores, right? In downtown Grand Haven in the last couple of years, for a while we had 2 children's stores. In a downtown that's 3 blocks long. For a while we had 2 independent pet stores in a 3-block downtown. You know, this happens all the time when there's too much money, too much store, too many people with too many dreams. But now here's what's happening. The change is happening. The right size is happening. What you're going to find coming out of this is that there's going to be a lot less stores. That the stores that aren't very good are going to go away. The chains that aren't very good are going to go away. Think about the last time you went to a mall, an average mall, maybe not a high-end luxury mall, but you know, your basic small town, mid-sized city mall, suburban mall. You walk around that mall in half the stores, no, 2/3, no, 3/4 of the stores suck. They're just lousy. The service is lousy. The merchandise is uninspired. The displays are lame. You know, those people are going to go away. All of this excess space. I read a rumor that Sears might not make it through this. Proud brand, but did not change. All of these people who, in all of these businesses who have been able to make it because there's been a lot of money in the economy, are no longer going to be able to survive. They're not willing to change. They haven't been willing to change. And therefore, now that the crisis has come, they're going to go away. And by the way, that holds true for independent retailers also. You know, think about your town. Think about your strip center. Think about your business community. Half of the stores are no good. Half the stores are no good, and they don't care. They're not part of this community. They're not changing. They're not working it. They're not doing it. They don't care, or they don't know what to do, and therefore they're not going to survive. And again, this is not a message of fear. This is a message of hope. This is a message of encouragement, because you're watching this, you're listening to this, you're part of this community. And if you're part of this community, my guess is that you read, that you learn, that you grow, that you try stuff. One of the things I've been the most proud of and the most impressed by, you know, being part of the Whiz Bang retailer community, is the willingness to try things. That there was a thread that just everybody, you know, I mean, people are throwing up websites in 2 days. People are doing live video for the first time. People are doing curbside pickup. People are doing deliveries. People are hustling, baby. I love to see that. I love to see that. What are you doing? You're changing. And if you're willing to change, if you're willing to learn, if you're willing to grow, if you're willing to do the painful things, you will survive. It's the people who don't do those things who are not going to survive. And guess what? When this is done, there will be less competition. There will be less dollars in the economy for a little while, but there will be a brand new landscape. And that landscape will belong to you. That landscape will belong to the pros. You know, I've talked about that a lot, you know, in our community forum. I've talked about that a lot on this podcast. This whole idea that when this is done, that the people who survive are going to be good. There is going to be no room for the hobbyist. There's going to be no room for the person who thinks, oh, wouldn't it be great to open a woman's clothing store? No, the people who are there are the people who are going to be great. They're going to be fundamentally great. They're going to focus on their customers. They're going to focus on, you know, building relationships. They're going to do all of the things that we all talk about here in our community. All of the things that we teach at Whiz Bang Retail Training, you know, focus on the fundamentals, focus on the experience, focus on the relationships, focus on being good. So I want to applaud you. Again, this is not a message of fear. This is a message of hope. This is a message of opportunity. The world is changing. You are willing to change. And because you are willing to change, you will survive. So I hope you found that helpful. This afternoon, Susan and I are going to host another community forum, and I would love to see you there. Please bring your best ideas, bring your questions for me and Susan. I thought that there were some great marketing ideas last week, and it's just a great opportunity for all of us to get together and share ideas, share best practices, support each other, ask questions of me and Susan. It's just a chance for us to be together and support each other. So I hope to see you this afternoon. If I don't see you this afternoon, or we don't see you this afternoon, I hope to see you tomorrow. Be safe. I'm Bob Negen, and I got to tell you, everybody here at Whiz Bang Retail Training is mighty doggone proud of all the work you're doing.